Hello everyone, welcome back to League of Legends DFS Esports Breakdown for June the 24th DraftKings slate. Another pretty unexciting 4-gamer here. There may be one spot I'm interested in, but there's not a lot to get excited for a lot of these spots here. So we'll go ahead and just break it down, but quickly want to recap yesterday because it was actually a pretty interesting day beforehand and afterwards. So over in the LPL, we did have the big favorite AL end up losing. We did kind of see this one coming. I was worried for sure. And I think overall, this is definitely one where being a fan of a team kind of bit me here. Because I think I'd legitimately said if I was an objective player, I would say LGD is the move here. But I wasn't, and I'm not, and I got bit by the AL here. I'm probably going to end up making another video on this at some point, but I think there really is something fishy about AL and their propensity to lose as favorites. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe it is. I'll break it down another time, but I posted some tweets in a small thread on my Twitter at RaiderJ_BBB. And essentially the point was every time that the AL become a betting favorite, the first time that they do it in the split, they lose. No matter what form they're on, no matter who they're playing or what's going on, the first time that they are the betting favorite in the split, they lose. It's happened 3 times, the last 3 splits. Actually 4, because it happened right now, it happened in spring, it happened last summer, and it happened last spring. So I believe that's 4 times that when AL is the betting favorite for the first time in the split, they lose. I don't want to go into too in depth with it here, but it's just a little suspicious here. And the reason I bring that up is because when I was watching these games, AL looked like a completely different team. And I recognize and understand that they are a pretty inconsistent team. They're not as good as probably I hyped them up to be. But they just looked wildly different, especially in game 2. I wish I could show clips of the game. But specifically with Forge and his package timing was really odd. It seemed like he purposefully ruined it. If you guys don't know, the big thing with Corki is that his passive, the package, it's when you get that big package, you could bring it into your team fights. It's a very long but narrow and strong ability. It does tons of magic damage if you can land it in a good spot. Essentially, it respawns every 5 minutes, and the dragons are every 5 minutes. So ideally, you pick up your package about 20-30 seconds before the dragon, you use it around when dragon spawns, and you'll get it back around the same time. It seemed like he purposely mismanaged it to where it was coming up a little bit after the dragons, and it put them in really disadvantageous spots. Another thing is his usage in I want to say the 4th dragon fight, or the big one where they ended up losing the game and they got aced, and then LGD ended up going to take Baron and shortly afterwards ending the game. Pretty much the game losing team fight from AL. Forge had multiple opportunities to bring the I'm just gonna go ahead and show the clip. You know what? I think this is worth talking about. Here, so anyone's legend AL, or yeah, right here. I mean, so they're in a fine spot all throughout this game, and it's right here. So we look here. I actually skipped to like the perfect point. So if we look here, if you guys don't know that much about the game, this might be a little bit confusing, but I'll kind of break it down as easy as I can. Essentially, if Forge, he has the package right here, and this is such an easy corridor to just press your W, you fly in. This whole area right here is all packaged. It's such a free angle. This could not be an easier spot to go ahead and press your Corki W. This whole area becomes packaged. LGD cannot fight in this corridor at all. And then they can turn around, probably kill Fearness because Fearness will be separated from the rest of his team. The rest of his team will most likely have to retreat. This is super free for Forge, and it looks super weird to me. And the thing is, you know, I didn't want to make this a whole thing, but it got me mad again. So yeah, maybe it looks a little bit different in short or in a slower speed at a quarter of a speed. It's easy to say in hindsight, you should have done this, should have done that. Yeah. But the thing is here, these are pro players and they're, you know, relatively decent. They're a 2-1 team. They beat BLG here. And it's like anyone who's ever played League of Legends, especially a pro player, anyone who's played as much as Forge, this is his like 4th year being a professional player. Why are you not using your package here? We could see the fight forming this way from a while ago. So we can look and see here. AL get vision of the whole team right here at 1028. He has not used it. It's been multiple seconds. It's 1031. It's been four seconds, 1032. He's had 4 seconds to make this decision, and he is just not doing it. It's 5 seconds. We're at 1033. Right now it's a little bit late, so I kind of, you know, understand not doing it here. It's a little late. They're already out of the corridor, and you could see LGD recognize that this was a possibility. That's why they're kiting downwards. If you guys don't understand these terms, I'm sorry. You guys can skip ahead, but LGD recognized that this is a problem, and they're already running out downwards so they can get a little bit more open area to fight around with because they don't want to get Corky packaged here. And it's already too late. And then he just packages backwards. Like, why? What is he doing? Why would he ever do this? And the reason I bring this up is because it's not like AL is such a lifeless team to where it doesn't even matter. They were looking relatively good. Like, if we compare these fights and these battles here, like if we were to talk about the individual play from all these players, for the most part, it was really odd. So I just highlighted this big one from Forge. There's multiple instances of this where I notice where, like, if Forge just presses W right here, it's a long range, it's a super big, you know, here I'll just bring it up. I'll bring it up as an example. Just a random YouTube example, so we can look and see. This is what the ability looks like. See, there it is. It's just a long, perfect for that corridor I was just talking about. It's just a long range ability, long and narrow, and anyone that walks over it is super slow, taking tons and tons of damage. Look at this. Look at how much damage it does. It's just a super silly thing where I don't understand what Forge is doing, and there was so many instances of this in that AL series that bring up this cause for concern. I probably talked about this way too much, but it just re-triggered me, so I'm sorry for wasting your guys' time. But there's just too many instances of that in this series, and it's just too suspicious. That's all I'm just gonna leave it at. I'm not gonna accuse them of intentionally throwing. They are a bad team. You know, relative to the league, they are wildly inconsistent. I recognize these things, but it's different when you watch this team and they were really good and look precise and clean against a team like BLG, and they turn around and go against this really, really bad LGD team and then make these stupid mistakes. Especially if we're to look at their drafting, they highly prioritized and picked Zeri here for no reason. Like, they've never been high on the Zeri, all split, and this is the first time they just perma-picked Zeri. So if we look here, it's been open every single split or every single game so far that they've played. Against RA, no reason to go to Zeri. Against LNG, no Zeri. Against BLG, no Zeri. And then randomly, when they're going against LGD, they're just randomly obsessed with Zeri. And it's such a bad pick in this spot. I just don't understand why they're doing, like, what they were doing here. And it's just super odd to me. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just super odd to me that they change everything when they become like these betting favorites, and then they lose. Like, it's just super odd. That's all I'm gonna leave it at. It's just very odd and suspicious in a way, to where they just change everything and they become such a different team when they are the betting favorites in a you know, the context of the league. And obviously, I don't need to break it down on why it becomes, like, why it is suspicious when they are the betting favorite. It's obvious. If you're the betting favorite and you are potentially match fixing, which I should add is something that's happened annually in the LPL. The last 3 years, somebody in the LPL has been banned for match fixing. This same organization, Anyone's Legend, formerly known as Rogue Warriors, they had somebody banned for match fixing, and they got fined for covering it up. This exact organization got fined for covering up match fixing is the same org that coincidentally loses the first time that they're favorites in every split for the last 4 splits. It's just when you add all these smaller things up, if it starts to paint a little bit bigger picture on why I think it is somewhat problematic. Again, I don't want to outright accuse any specific player or the team. You know, they are inconsistent. I recognize that. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's just super frustrating to watch as a viewer because it is a wildly different team. Like I don't know. I kind of broke down everything already, so I don't know if I'm going to make another video on it. It's just really weird. That's just all I'm going to leave it at. It's just really odd, very, very weird situation going on. We did recognize that was a possibility, but I did not expect it to happen like that for sure. TT ended up being Team WE. We did pick this underdog as well, or not as well. I didn't pick the other one, but we got this underdog pick here at TT. Again, I was pretty surprised by the odds here, and it kind of panned out in our way. This was a very slow game, but TT seemed a good bit better than WE, which is something to keep in mind. There's nothing really to talk about. These are slow matches where TT just kind of outmaneuvered them. TT very much LCK'd the shit out of Team WE here. So there's not much to break down here, really, I don't think. I think WE will be better going forward, but again, like we talked about yesterday, I don't think they're there yet with this roster. Then over in the LCK, we had double dogs here, to talk about. They don't have the second game here, but it was a T1 2-0. I was on Live Sandbox, the gigantic underdog. They didn't end up coming through. I just thought LSB was a little bit better than they were. They just were not ready for this at all. I definitely recognize T1 is still an upper echelon team, especially within the context of the LCK. However, I just think I thought the gap was a little bit closer than it was, and it wasn't. I simply just got this one wrong. I was picking a gigantic underdog, but again, the maps weren't as close as I thought they were. It doesn't really matter the context of your pick. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and I was wrong about this one. There's really not much to say. I thought LSP was a little bit better. I thought they would put up somewhat of a fight. I thought it would come down to the traditional LCK coin flip at the Dragon or coin flip at the Baron and see what happens. But T1 had the games decided much earlier. Talking about an absolute heart attack, Nongshim did end up getting the 2-0, the other underdog pick that we did end up having. I did have a couple lineups of Nongshim and TT that did end up kind of saving my bacon a little bit yesterday because I was so heavy on AL. So overall on the day, I actually didn't end up that bad because I had some Nongshim and TT. And obviously they both got the sweep, so some decent scores there, and they were both underdogs, so all the favorites losing is good for the underdog lineups, obviously. Nongshim looked pretty decent, but again, they just cannot close games. I think against any level of quality, they're definitely going to be out to dry. But I think fortunately for them, the LCK does not have much quality. Like outside of the top 3 teams, I could definitely see Nongshim being a problem within the league. Both for themselves and the enemies. It's definitely becoming like a self-fulfilling prophecy with them. Maybe they probably recognize that they are like chokers in a way. Like the fact that they have these huge leads and they have these such advantageous positions and nearly bottle them every time is definitely cause for concern. They've played 6 maps so far, and they've been in a very strong winning position in 5 out of the 6. And they've only won 2. So that's the problem there with Nongshim. I was trying to bring up like a scoreboard for them or something, but yeah, they were in very strong winnable positions out of 5 out of these 6 maps, and they've won 2. They beat KDF. Again, I did think KDF was a little overrated. I thought Nongshim was underrated. We got the underdog money on Nongshim, so overall in that aspect, it was a pretty decent day. We did pick 2 underdogs correctly. We got a favorite wrong, and we got a big underdog wrong. So I think if you did bet them all, or some way. Like if you did bet Nong Shim and TT at their prices, I think those would have been good options, and they did end up coming through. So overall, again, I think the overall on the day, we actually had pretty good reads a lot of these times. And I know I've continued to say this, but that's all you can hope for. I know that the picks are kind of losing, or sometimes like that. Like I was pretty heavy on AL, and it didn't pan out that way. But all you can do is try to put yourself in a good position and let it go from there. That's all you can do, especially when it comes to something as fickle as esports DFS. Like you're looking at maximum variance here almost, it feels like. And all you can do is try to put yourself in a good position. Overall, I think my reads have not been bad, and that's kind of why I'm not too shaken by any of this stuff. The last few days maybe haven't been going our way, but when we have close games and our underdogs are not coming through, or when we have our underdogs come through but our favorites don't, I think we're putting ourselves in spots that we can do well in, and it just kind of isn't running our way. Similar to how I would probably describe like a poker hand. Like if you are a 70-30 favorite and it doesn't go your way multiple times, it doesn't go your way. It's out of your control. It's not what you can do. Again, I don't think we're winning 70% of the time, so that's maybe an exaggeration. However, I just think, in my opinion, based off of what I predicted and what we've talked about, I think we're in a good spot. Especially, we had picked the double underdogs with Nong Shim. We picked TT to win. I said there was definitely a good amount of cause for concern for that AL match, and it did end up coming out the either way. So, we are there. The reads are there. We're just not putting them together, and hopefully that's something we can work on. So we can finally get started talking about the matches tomorrow. I'll probably timestamp the description for anyone who wants to skip this stuff. So if you're skipping to this part where I'm talking now, that means you've skipped all my AL rant. Definitely fine. If you guys want this information, you'll get this information. That's what it is. So we go ahead and get started here. We look at the odds for these matches. I did not pull them up like I should have. Nope, they're already here. We could see four pretty big favorites here on this slate. Genji minus 1200, DRX minus 650, JDG minus 325, LNG minus 410. So four very sizable favorites here. It's tough to argue with most of them. However, there is one spot that I'm a little bit interested in, and for that reason, we'll look into it. And it actually is the first game here. It is going to be OMG LNG. LNG are swapping out Iwandi. They are bringing in Lumao. I do think this is an objective downgrade. I do think as a player, Lumao is worse than Iwandi. I don't know what's inspiring them to bring in make this choice. I feel like maybe they have a lack of leadership or a lack of voice, and that's something that Lumao can bring. I'm not sure. That's just speculation. That is just a little odd to me. And the reason I'm interested in this one is because OMG looked relatively decent their last time out. And now that they have their full roster together for a little bit of time, it does feel a little early. I will admit that. They lost to RA, which is a pretty sad loss, they lost to RA, and then, they got their full roster together. They played JDG in a close series, and now we're getting, a couple more days here, even more of practice, and we're going against LNG, who I think is worse than JDG. So I think overall this is a little bit closer than the odds are indicating, and that's kind of the only matchup I can kind of say that for. I think JDG is a good bit better than Ultra Prime. Although I kind of rate Ultra Prime a good bit, compared to the league. I do think when we look at them, they've not been world beaters themselves, but I think they're a relatively decent middling team. I think JDG is just much too strong for them. But overall, when I look at this one, I do think, as much as I do rate LNG pretty highly, they've not looked fantastic. They 2-0'd AL, they 2-1 to BLG, they 2-1 TT. I don't think any of these teams are that fascinating, so their record seems a little inflated. When we look at OMG, again, they have 3 losses. They are 0-3. That feels a little twisted on the scoreboard and towards the LNG favor, and that's what I think is dictating this price a little bit. I just don't agree with LNG minus 410. I don't think they win it that often. That's implying like what, 78% or 80% or something on the LNG line. I just think it's a little bit closer. I think this is probably like 70-30, so not giving ourselves a ton of edge there, or maybe 65-35, something like that. So I don't think it's a crazy egregious line by any means. I definitely think LNG is the much better team. They probably should win this 2-0. But on a slate when we're talking about a lot of big favorites, I'm willing to take the shot here. And it is a spot that seemed interesting to me before I looked at the odds and after I looked at the odds as well. Again, OMG is just a kind of team I'm buying into here. They swapped out their support for the first series, then Cream had to leave for their second series. Then they finally got their roster together here for the match on the 20th, and they played a close game to JDG, who was I think a top 3 team. And now we're going against LNG, who's a little bit worse than JDG. So overall, it is a little bit of MMA math here, and I don't like doing that. But when we do look at who they've played, I just feel like the season is just kind of starting for OMG, maybe a couple weeks late, but I think we're just getting started with OMG. They were a team I wanted to buy into earlier, and it didn't pan out because their roster swaps and stuff. Now that they have their full roster together, they have a little bit more time to get that cohesion back. I think this is a spot against an LNG team that I think is a little bit overrated. I was part of I was one of those people. I liked LNG a lot preseason. I don't think it's panning out. They have not looked fantastic. I'm not arguing LNG is a worse team than OMG by any stretch. LNG probably have better players in every position. They probably have better grouped up team fighting. It's hard for me to find a particular angle where OMG have an out or an avenue to win. I do think it comes down to the inconsistencies of the junglers. I do think Aki has high highs and low lows. I think Tarzan... I think he's a little bit inactive right now, and I'm not sure what's prompting that. But I think if Aki can get on the map, get active, and snowball some leads for OMG, while LNG just kind of farm away with Tarzan, I think there's avenues there. It's pretty rare, so I'm not going crazy with it. But if we look at the context of the whole slate, I can't find a spot where I'm loving anything else. So I'll just call it there. I'll leave with I'm not gonna end the video right now, but I'm gonna leave this game with I think this is a fair underdog shot. Again, I think it's a relatively close. I think if OMG is like a bordering playoff team, they're like 8, 9, 10. And I think LNG is probably like I don't know, like 5, 6 maybe. I'm not sure. I just think overall it's a little bit closer than it looks. I feel like we're going to get a little bit better of an OMG that's going in, that's getting a little bit better, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Then we look at JDG Ultra Prime. Again, I just feel like this is all JDG. They're a top 3 team in the league. Ultra Prime are good. They're probably top 10. Probably going to be looking at making the playoffs. They're not too bad themselves, but I just think JDG are much stronger than they are. The price is a little odd to me. The fact that you're getting plus money on the sweep is a little bit weird. I feel like JDG should win this a good bit of the time, especially in a 2-0, but Ultra Prime haven't been that bad, and we know JDG's hyper aggro playstyle can lead to them dropping some games. We could see that the only team that they 2-0'd was EDG. They dropped a map to Top Esports, LGD, and OMG. LGD and OMG being much lesser teams. So I guess maybe that price tag makes a little bit more sense. But I think overall JDG are a good bit better. I could definitely see those odds kind of. In my opinion, these odds should be a little bit flipped. I think JDG is a good bit better of a team, and I think OMG is a little bit closer than it looks. Over in the LCK, I don't think there's really much to talk on here. I think there's nothing else to talk with rosters here, right? Yeah, it was just Lumao for Iwandi. Over in the LCK, I don't think there's much to talk about. I do think KT Roaster is a pretty bad team. DRX is decent. They're probably like the 4th best team in the league, maybe on like a tier of their own, behind the top 3. And then Gen G is probably the best team in the league. Fred Beyond is the worst team in the league, so nothing really to argue with there. That's for sure. I'm probably going to be avoiding that. I did end up bringing up the stats in advance here, so we can look at kind of the expected kill totals. Genji Brion is pretty crazy. Fredit Brion's pace is slowed down even somehow, so that's going to be an interesting one. They don't even have map props here. So it seems like they're prepared for that as well. Yeah, they don't even have kill totals for the Fredit Brion series, so it feels like they've been getting taking a beating on that. DRX Hanwha is not that bad, but again, this is kind of a situation where the average game time is so long from DRX. I think they're averaging like 40 something minutes. 42 minutes of game time for DRX, so pretty good team slot opportunity. Crazy high game time. I think they're going to win this a good bit. Both sides, the average game time for these are 34 and 37 minutes. So pretty good for the team slots. You're not going to get too unique. I think a lot of people are catching on to that as well. But it's another interesting spot. If you want to get up to these team slots, they're not too pricey. And if you are going with an OMG, underdog pick, you're going to be able to afford a LCK team slot. So that's something to look into for sure. I think it's a possibility. Kill totals. JDG Ultra Prime is a good bit better than everyone else. Probably like a couple kills higher than everyone else. LNG, OMG would be the number 2. And again, I think DRX Hanwha, although this number is an average of 23.63 kills per map, on average so far, it is a small sample of DRX has played 4 games, Hanwha's played 5. And I think the average game time is super inflated here. I mean, it could go long again. I wouldn't be shocked at all. These LCK games do have a propensity to go crazy in length. It's just an average, and I would kind of go under on that. I'll see what the numbers are here. They that's funny. They don't even have a Fredit Brion under offered, so they definitely recognize that one. If we look at the map 1, they're saying under 11 or under 11. Under 20 and a half is plus 115. We're getting an average of 23.6. This would probably be a stay away for me. The over, I guess, technically would be value, but I'd just avoid this altogether. The margins are a little bit too close there. I'd imagine the numbers are not good in the LPL side. They rarely are. They don't even have them offered for OMG, LNG, JDG Ultra Prime. Don't have them offered here as well. So I guess maybe they finally realized they were taking beating on that and stopped offering them. So there we go. That'll be it. We'll look at the players and go ahead and get out of here. I'm probably just going to be looking at OMG, JDG. We'll maybe throw Genji in there as well just to see if anything comes out. But overall, we'll look at the top. Obviously, Jerry and 0909 are not playing. Missing Kanavi, Hope You Gal 369. Pretty spread out there. Pretty decent for OMG, especially Shanji up there. Pretty good for top laner. That's a little surprising. OMG's bottom lane is up there, 70s. Gen G's overall are pretty low, with the highest being Peanut at 66. Aki's is surprisingly low, so it's something to keep in mind. We'll go quickly position by position, then we'll go ahead and get out of here. Top laners, probably just Shanji. Numbers are pretty good, and if they win, he's probably going to score pretty well. They put him on carries pretty heavily. You can say that for all 3 of them. They're all on the Gangplank and stuff, but Shanji with the Gangplank and Kale, pretty solid options, and I think if they win, it's probably going to be with the help of him for sure. So that's a spot I like for sure. If you don't want to get either of those 2, I don't think there's much of a difference between Doran and 369. It's going to come down to pricing, and Doran's a little bit cheaper. Maybe you could go that way, but probably not for me. Junglers, it's definitely much better for Kanavi. Kanavi's going to be mega chalk, so I definitely think it's fine if you want to go there. He's going to be, I think he is the best jungler on the slate for sure. Aki's numbers seem a little low, and his champion pool is not good for doing well. He's on the Trundle and Vi, which are not that conducive for DraftKings purposes. So maybe that's a spot you don't want to go to. Maybe you'd prefer getting the Kanavi in there. If you do go JDG and OMG like I intend to. For mid lane, all three of them about the same, Chovy, Cream, and Yagao. Out of the bunch, I'd probably look at Cream. I think he has a little bit more upside. Again, he's a player I rate pretty highly typically, but statistically speaking, they're all three about the same. If you go that route, for 80 carries, I'm surprised Hope is the lowest, but it looks like Abel is a good bit, a part of their wins. So if OMG do get the upset win, then it looks like it is going to be through Abel. But again, I think Ruler and Hope are both definitely in play. They have pretty crazy high 28% kill shares, around the same kill participation. There's not much separating these two for sure. But again, Hope's team is expected to score more. For supports, Missing's numbers are a good bit better than everyone else's. Colds are there as well. So either one of OMG or JDG supports, you're probably going to get a pretty low number on Cold. Ownership wise, probably I'd imagine sub 10%. Lehen's 57%, pretty bad. He doesn't play that great of champions for getting the participation, like the Singed, for example. So it would be Missing or Cold, probably just Missing. But if you're stacking up OMG, like I probably will have an OMG stack, I will probably have some Cold there as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not too surprising. It's going to be a lot of OMG and JDG for me. And then probably just going to have some team slot one-offs from the LCK. Probably just going to do a couple lineups, one with the OMG full stack with JDG secondary, and then one with the JDG primary stack, OMG secondary with the LCK team slot one-offs. So nothing too crazy from me. My apologies. Allergies acting up a little bit here, so I'll try to get out of here. But yeah, kind of broke it all down. Hopefully you guys got some information. Again, not a great slate. 4 big favorites. 3 of them I agree with. Again, when we do have a slate like this, and it's going to be all these big favorites, I would recommend just go light. Keep your entries pretty low. If you are following me and you are going with like an OMG underdog pick here, again, just keep your entries low. Play it like kind of for what it is, which is more of like a lottery ticket type thing, and think about it that way, and you can hopefully save yourself a little bit. And we'll be back again tomorrow for another slate. We have another opportunity and hopefully a little bit of better spots. So that'll be it for me tonight. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Tomorrow I should have Call of Duty out as well, so keep an eye out for that, and then I'll see you guys then.